Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Safety Systems. You know, last night a lot of people in East Tennessee were watching a big fight, the Mayweather-McGregor thing. They were watching it on theater screens. They were watching it on great big 4K televisions. They were watching it with Sonos sound bars. They were watching it with surround sound, all put in by Safety Systems. And another former Vol, VFL J.J. Surlis, works out there. SafetySystems.com to learn more. Not only security systems, which they are tops at, but they do great audio-visual work. Give them a shout, Safety Systems. All right, I want to remind you today we have a special overtime segment coming up. Follow me on Twitter. You see all the information there. Follow me on Twitter. I'll tell you when it's posted. I'm going to get Mike Stoll to hang around here. I want to talk about your connections to new offensive line coach Walt Wells, which is kind of interesting. We'll talk about the offensive line with Mike Stoll. Then I also want to remind you that coming up, we're going to be with you all weekend, this football season, all weekend, every weekend. The Pigskin Panel, that's Fridays at 4 o'clock on WNML 990 and 99.1. Then the Sports Source Kickoff. That starts this Saturday at 10:30 a.m. It's going to be a preview of the UT game every week. That's on Fox 43, 10:30 on Saturday mornings. And then every Sunday for year 15 of the Sports Source right back here on Channel 6. And speaking of Channel 6, they have their own preview coming up. Join the Orange and White Nation this Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, a full 1-hour breakdown of the 2017 Vols with Marshall, Emily, Mark, and a whole lot more right here on WATE. That's Wednesday at 8. I'm out of breath, so let me quickly tell you guys this. And I'm back with former Vol offensive lineman David Moon, former Vol offensive lineman Mike Stoll, former Vol wide receiver Anthony Hancock.
Almost offensive lineman now.
Yeah.
Take a picture. Which one wasn't the offensive lineman?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to throw my gut into the mix too. Here's the trick. Tennessee has lost a lot of star power. You know that.
Yes.
There's a lot of those front line. Now, you've got talent on this team. These guys may step up, but you lost a lot of star power. Some of the players are saying, yeah, but our chemistry seems better this year. Okay. You rather have star power or chemistry?
I'd rather have great players and modest chemistry to a point. It's not a binary question. It is linear.
There's a range.
There's a range, and there's a certain number of bad apples you can have on a team until it tips. And every program's different, but as long as you stay under the that quantity in that program, I'd rather have great players than a bunch of guys who fish together.
All right, guys. Chemistry versus talent. Where are you?
Well, I'm going to say Newton's Law. But anyway, I think that in essence, we have 6 new coaches this year, I believe. So the players have to really buy into a system. Last year we had great players who made some things happen. 3 or 4 games last year were won by some fantastic plays by the quarterbacks and other players and so forth. But this year they have new coaches. So with the new coaches, the players really have to buy into the system, which is also buying the chemistry to bring it together, because you don't know really individually what kind of talent we have individually, but I think that as an overall with the new system we have in place, because all practice has been closed, you really don't know what's going on over there. It's like kind of like secret, like in Oak Ridge, you know, nuclear, real secret out there.
Hopefully it doesn't blow up.
Right. So it's pretty interesting about getting ready for the season, because you really don't know what's going on over there. It's been kind of really quiet and secret.
Mike Stoll got about 30 seconds here.
Yes.
Chemistry versus talent. Are you buying the? It could be better with less talent.
Well, so everything's situational. Last year you had Josh Dobbs who made great plays on his own. So chemistry wasn't important on the offensive line, right? Because he made a lot of plays on his own. This year you got a quarterback that's probably not as mobile, is not going to make as many plays as on his own that Dobbs did. So chemistry is important in the offensive line, but you still want to have great players like David said. You still want to have players buying into the coach's philosophies, but you got to have a good dose of chemistry because they communicate. They're on the same page, especially up front and in the trenches. Those guys are the ones that win the battles most of the time, and you want them being on the same page and knowing what the other guy's thinking before it happens.
All right. I want to thank all the guys who've been with us today. Anthony Hancock, Mike Stoll, David Moon. I'm going to run through the list here. Jeff Hall, Sterling Hinton, Chris Wampler, Shazan Bradley, Bobby Scott, LaMarcus Thompson, Dr. Christopher Ramsey. I want to thank all of our sponsors for doing this year in, year out with this annual All VFL show. I want to thank you for watching, and I want to thank you for watching our overtime segment later this afternoon on SportsSource.tv, and for joining us next week, right back here as we kick off year 15 of the Sports Source with a Georgia Tech preview. See you then. Thank you again.
The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Brain. Shadow boxes come with a lifetime guarantee.